So we're very nearly there. We are very nearly at picture lock. We just have to go through our final scene, and this isn't going to take too long. The final scene is fairly simple. There's only one line. It's mostly audio work we've got to take care of here. But let's go through and use all the tools we know just to make a proper final pass at this, or a proper second pass, at least.
You've come too far to throw it all away.
So I like that, but I want to make this a J-cut. There's no audio worth keeping down here. We're going to have to completely replace this. So
you've come too far to...
let's see what we can do. I'm going to trim this back, and then I'm going to roll it across. I'm going to ripple this back, and then I'm going to roll this over.
I'm too far to...
I don't want him to look back at the cookie before I cut away. So in that case, what I'm going to have to do is... there we go. Now, because I have linked selection off when I ripple the video, if there's no audio down there for this green brick, this green audio to collide with, it will also undershoot, and it will make a J-cut for me. So here we go.
You've come too far to throw it all away.
And that's the only bit of dialogue, well, monologue, it's the only line there. The rest of this is just timing, so we just need to decide what we like. And you know what, to be honest, I think that's pretty good the way it is. The audio is the problem. Audio in kind of, on location interior places like this is always terrible. There's always a lot of work to do in like hard surfaced cafes, for example, which is always a nightmare. So we've got plenty of sound design to do to sell this location, but we can do that. We'll get through that. So let's just take a look at this.
You've come too far to throw it all away.
Maybe that is just a little bit too much of an undershoot.
You've come too
There
far
we go.
to throw it all away.
Maybe this look just needs a little extra breathing room. And we do need to put all of this back. What am I doing? As every now and again the keyboard shortcuts run away with you. They don't behave as expected. Well, it's because you hit the wrong thing by accident and think you got it right. But we all do that. Cool. Just needs a little bit of extra breathing room. Nice. Cool. So I'm pretty happy with that third scene. So actually what I'm going to do then, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a quick third pass of the whole film, because obviously a little 3-minute video on trimming 3 clips is a bit of a waste. So let's go back and take a look. Now there are 2 things that I remember not liking. A was the 70 kilo weight here, and B was just this cut where she gives him the cookie dough. This cut here. So I'm going to put myself down a new marker here. I'm going to make that a red one and just say I don't like this edit. And I already know where the montage is, so we go through. Dunk. So I'm okay with all of that except for these 2. And here in particular, I don't think the 70 kilos is enough. And I think we can probably change the timing of this clip. So let's zoom in and take a proper look. First things first, I want to expose keyframes. Ah, that one doesn't have a zoom. Excellent. Okay. So I'm actually going to zoom this right in. And what I want is to make the 70 kilos here really obvious, because that's the point of this shot. We kind of lost the point of the shot in the second pass of this montage. The point of this shot is obviously he's shooting for the moon. He's setting himself an impossible task because he's not experienced enough in working out and weightlifting, so this isn't going to end well. So I'm just going to make sure that that 70 kilos is right there. And I think I'm going to slip this as well. I might just give that a little bit of extra breathing room because there's text. We have to kind of break the metric montage thing we have going on down here. It's always important that text is on the screen long enough for us to read it, and typically the rule is that it should be on the screen long enough for you to read out loud 3 times quickly. When it's something very simple and shorthand like this, it can be a bit quicker. So let's just see how this goes. Okay, I think we see the 70 there. I think that's enough. And then here, because we kind of move up here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to zoom in, and this time I'm actually going to make the 30. So then we go, well, hey, and the 30 is right there. And I'm probably going to trim this out a little bit as well. I'll ripple it out a little bit. Cool. Okay, let's go back and watch this. Let's hope I haven't destroyed the timing of it, but we'll see. It's just, that was bugging me, the kind of we couldn't really get the text properly there. Okay, cool. I see 70. I see 30. Bish, bash, bosh. There we go. Okay, cool. I'm happy with that little montage cut now. I think that's good. So, last thing that was genuinely bugging me was this cut over here where she, in fact, you know what, I've got markers. I can just shift down arrow. And go to the next marker. Okay, cool, here we go. This cut. I just need to think a little about this cut. Just the way it's landing doesn't quite gel with me at the moment. Let's just think about what we can do here. Right, so this kind of wide into a close-up, it's not working for me. Ideally, I want something else here. So let's take a look at what we have. Let's see if we've got some better material to work with. I'm going to take a look at my rushes, second scene. So I'm looking for, in a perfect world, a closer angle where he actually gets hold of the cookie dough, because in the very close-ups, like the proper close-ups, he's already holding it, and that doesn't work. So let's see what we've got. Let's search description. Let's just see which ones are tagged with dough. Oh look, close-up of Wayne holding the cookie dough. Close-up of Wayne's hands holding cookie dough, that's even better.
Set, action.
Ah, perfect. Perfect, that's exactly what we want. So, I'm going to get rid of that marker because it's upsetting my playhead. In fact, that was no, I'm going to undo all of that. That was a very, very stupid thing to do. I'm going to keep the markers there, but I'm going to undo the magnet. Pardon my poor decision making just then. So let's do a little edit in here. So I want to take this and I'm going to find the point. Okay, and it's just about there, so I'm going to cut in there and then here. So I can cut in there. Alright, cool. So the next thing I want to do is take this and put it in here, but I have a problem. I can do a standard insert edit, which is F10, but that kind of overwrites this. Well, an insert, that's an overwrite edit, F10. I can do a standard overwrite edit, but that kind of chews into this edit here, which isn't what I want to do. Ideally, what I want to do is I want to overwrite. I want to overwrite this clip into a specific region on the timeline. And in order to do that, I'm going to show you a trick, right? I'm going to set an in and out point on my actual timeline. I for in, and then I'm going to go to the edit point, O for out. Now, this is really cool because if we insert or overwrite into a timeline where we have an IO active, what it will do is it's going to take the in point of this selection up here in the source viewer, and it's going to line it up with the in points that we have here in the timeline. And when we overwrite into this point, it won't go past the out point we've set on the timeline. It's not going to go past this little dot that's currently behind the red marker, if I just move that out the way. It's not going to go past there. So I can actually tell Resolve, look, I want to make an edit, but it has to fit this point exactly. Now, if I hit F10, see, it hasn't overwritten this clip anymore. It's just inserted directly into the I/O that I set up on the timeline. Really nice trick, really cool, great for montage, great for music videos. It can also be quite useful for some kind of cutaways in documentary as well. I don't use it very often in drama, usually just like little kind of pick-up edits like this, but it's a really, really nice little trick to have. Now let's take a look at this. Cool, I think that is much better. I think that's a much nicer edit, yeah? And now that I look at these two, I think what I might do on the inspector, I might just zoom in a little bit and get a little bit of a tighter shot. Out of it that way, and then just lower it down a smidge. I want to be careful, I don't want to expose a black line up there. So I can get a bit of a tighter shot here. Although maybe that cuts the dealer off at the waist. Maybe that's a bad idea. Maybe just a little bit. So we can preserve that down there. And what I might end up doing is just with trim mode active, I might nudge that forwards a little bit so we get a less of a jump. Cool. And I think that's a much nicer edit. So that was the last thing that was really bugging me. So we've got some audio markers on here. The next thing we are then going to do, now that we've done our little kind of final polish and final pass, is that we have now reached picture lock. Once we're happy with the video edit as is, we are no longer going to change anything, we're not going to refine anything, we're not going to fiddle about with anything, right? But we're going to talk about that in more detail in the next lecture before we move on to the audio. And there's a lot to cover in kind of basic audio just in the edit panel, right? We're not going to go into Fairlight because this course is not about Fairlight, but I aim to give you all of the basic audio understandings you need in order to work with audio people and prepare a project for them. So click on through to the next lecture once you're ready.